So guys, in this video I'm going to tell you how to use BBC News to improve your English speaking ability, because I want to tell you that I am not much fluent in English when I was 24-25 years old. So I tried different things like I had no money to go for English classes, so what I used was different kind of books. So I read a lot. So if you want to improve your English speaking ability, what I can recommend you to do is, best thing is to read some articles that you come across, that you find in your life. When you go somewhere, find some article, read. You know what I would like to talk about in this video? Some of the failures that I uh, find difficult in my life, because what I was given advice that to rate everything that you find yourself, but what I emphasize is to you, even you find anything in your day-to-day life, please read it carefully, not for to improve your speaking ability, but to improve your language also. If you like sometimes you read it very fast, someone's asked you to read it fast if you don't know English. I think that's not the best way to improve your languages, because what you have to do is, anything you find, you have to read it carefully, and every word, every connection, collocations, like that. So in this way I will tell you how you can do it. In this YouTube there are more useful articles, like if you go to the BBC News, there are home, war in Ukraine, coronavirus, climate, video, world, Asia, business, tech, like that. So I think if you want to find some article which is very useful, like go through it. So I think I'm interested in this one. I'm living in fear for my life in Afghanistan. So when you find this kind of article, what you have to do is, first read the heading, like everything you have to pick from it. So I'm living, like even pronunciation, living in fear for my life in Afghanistan. So this is present continuous tense. So for my life in Afghanistan. So when you open the BBC News, you can see a woman who is wearing a suit which covers her entire body. So it says that women rights in Afghanistan have been curtailed since the Taliban takeover. So what it means is, their rights in Afghanistan, you can start from women's rights in Afghanistan, have been curtailed. That means curtail means cut since Taliban takeover. Like this, you have to read it. It is nearly 11 months. It says that it has been nearly 11 months. Words like nearly. Like if you want to explain something like almost nearly since the UK launched its scheme to help vulnerable Afghans come to the UK. But the MPs and charities say the Afghan citizens resettlement scheme has been too slow to get up and running, and is leaving those who are in most danger stuck in Afghanistan. It's nearly 11 months. Since the UK launched its scheme to help vulnerable, what you can say, it's nearly 11 to help vulnerable Afghan come to the UK. Every minute, every moment is frightening. Every minute, every moment, if you want to make it very beautiful and also very fascinating, very attractive, you can use some kind of language like this. We are scared for our own safety, says Ghazal. Because of her previous jobs as a journalist and lecturer, because of her previous, as well as being an advocate for women's rights, Ghazal says she has been threatened by the Taliban. If you want to talk about someone's job, like because of her previous job as journalist and lecturer, as well as being an advocate for women's rights, the BBC is not using her real name as she fears reprisal from the hardline Islamist group which seized power in the summer of 2021. You have to use the BBC is not using her real name as she fears. Is not using her real name, but we encounter some problems when you use when you connect sentences. Because I also use the BBC is not using her real name, then you stuck there. Then you can understand that name as she fears reprisal from the hardline Islamist group which seized power in the summer of 2022. She applied to come to the UK through the ACRS in June and received a reference number but has heard nothing else since then. She applied to come to the UK through the ACRS. She applied in June and received a reference number but has heard nothing else since then. It's a sentence. It's a long sentence. See how they have used the language in this sentence. If you know what is the most difficult thing is connecting two sentences and continuing the speaking. She applied to come to the UK through the ACRS in June like this, and she applied, and then the other part, and received a reference number but has heard nothing else since then. As she is still in Afghanistan, she is not eligible for the first year of the scheme when only 3 specific at-risk groups who remain in the country are being considered. As she is still in Afghanistan, she is not eligible for the first year of the scheme when only 3 specific at-risk groups who remain in this country are being considered. Meanwhile, during the period, if you want to talk about something during the period, you can use like meanwhile. Ghazal is moving between the houses of friends and relatives with her sister, so she cannot be found. If you want to explain that she's going here and there, meanwhile, like that. Meanwhile, Ghazal is moving between the houses of friends. He's moving between the houses of friends and relatives with her sister as she cannot be found. A year of seeking certainty. Since the Taliban takeover, women's rights have been curtailed, with women barred from most jobs outside the home. Recently I learned to pronounce word home. Told, cold. I earlier used to sound cold, like when I pronounce that word, it hear like W sound, not the O sound. So then when I get my private tuition, I learned how to pronounce that word correctly. So So I think this is the best way to learn English by yourself. So